And now it's time for Rockin Company's Rockin CU, featuring Adam Munsterteiger at buffstampede.com. Adam, CM777 is how you follow Adam on Twitter. And it's also brought to you by Zadie's Deli. They sling touchdowns, and they're dunking it, I guess you would say, during basketball season, with those great sandwiches swinging for the fences, homemade corned beef, and other deli treats. Free parking front and back in Cherry Creek at 120 Adams Street. And good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm swell. We asked the question earlier. Hey, if South Carolina and Gonzaga and Oregon can make the Final Four, can Tad Boyle and Colorado do the same?
Can they? Yeah, I think if you had kind of a stars aligning type of situation, I think maybe an example I would use is that if Andre Robertson had not left early for the NBA, and obviously that turned out to be the right decision for him. I'm not certainly criticizing him for leaving early, but had he come back and Spencer Dinwiddie didn't get hurt, you had Josh Scott on that team a handful of years ago, you have to have the right mix. I heard in your first segment you talked about you can't recruit too good, and then in certain cases with Colorado recently, you can't recruit as bad as they have and have as many misses in recruiting. So you got to find, especially with CU, you're recruiting clean, right? You're not doing maybe what some other programs might be doing, they might not be doing, but you're running a clean program. So you're going to need to find those guys that are below the McDonald's All-American and the guys that will stay in for 4 years. And so when you do have a situation like an Andre Robertson, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Alec Burks before then that leave in a 4-year span early, that's going to make it really hard for a program like CU to actually reach a Final Four. So you'd have to have the perfect mix of guys. I think right now, obviously, with CU, it's trying to get to the Sweet 16 for the first time under Tad Boyle, which they failed to do yet. And, yeah, I think the South Carolina is the example of if you get hot and you have the right mix of guys and the right matchups. You know, the NCAA tournament is about matchups, and CU has drawn some tough matchups, and that's partly why they have not been able to go on that run yet since Boyle's been in town. So I think that's kind of a long-winded answer to say, yes, it could happen, but, again, it would have to be a stars aligning type of situation.
Yeah, and, for those who missed it earlier, I used many of the same arguments, how close they've been, but guys leaving for the NBA at the wrong time. And that's the great irony, is because North Carolina recruited worse than Kentucky and Duke. Their McDonald's All-Americans are still in college. They're making a run for a national title in the Final Four, second year in a row, because they've still got 6 McDonald's All-Americans there that haven't left for the NBA, and that is a great point. So Tad Boyle is coming off what a lot of people think is his best recruiting year. We'll see those players arrive next fall on campus. Mike McIntyre is clearly coming off of his best recruiting year, with a real breakthrough year in football. So I wanted to check in with you, as buffstampede.com is where I go first, especially for recruiting news and all news really about University of Colorado. But are they sustaining that momentum? How does it look going forward? And on the football side, I wanted to ask you, is the ongoing investigation after the Tumpkin situation and the hold that was put on Coach McIntyre's extension, is that affecting anything?
So, yeah, it hasn't quite yet. Colorado's sitting at 5 commitments already for 2018, which is more than they've had in the past. They're all highly regarded 3-star guys. They've actually got 3 of the top 4 ranked in-state prospects from the class of 2018 for the first time in a really long time. It's actually the cool thing to do for those kids to go to CU, and for a long time there, they just couldn't get over the negative perception of CU with the local kids, and now it's kind of flipped on its head, and it's reversed now. So it has not affected them yet. They have kind of continued that momentum with recruiting. They've taken a similar model to last year when Dante Spiracco and Jonathan Van Dief's 2 local kids committed early. They really took it upon themselves to help recruit other recruits. That's kind of a growing trend you see with recruiting now with these group texts. And that's what now Ray Robinson, one of the top in-state kids this year, and Blake Stenstrom, the quarterback, of course, from Valor, that's committed. They've created a group chat, and they're trying to help CU kind of maintain that momentum. But, yes, you've got to get through this Tumpkin thing at some point in the near future. April 15th is the beginning of the spring evaluation period. That's when you send your assistant coaches on the road and really lay the groundwork for your recruiting that year. And if this is not resolved by then, I think that's when the questions start to come in. Okay, is Mike McIntyre's not going to get this extension? What's going on there? I think there will be more questions. But the attorneys for the Philadelphia-based law firm that did the investigation met behind closed doors with the CU Regents for 7 hours on Monday. It sounds like they're putting together a report that they're actually going to make public, which is good. We'll finally find out what is going on and what they found in this investigation. They have not released a timetable on that, but I would expect sometime in the next couple of weeks that we'll find out a little bit more. And certainly for CU, you'd like this done sooner rather than later, not only with the spring evaluation period coming up, but these lawyers are billing at $1,200 an hour. So you want to get some answers. And I think we're getting close to getting those answers. But right now, the only people that kind of know the findings of that investigation are the CU Regents, and they've been obviously tight-lipped about it.
Well, we'll get to your speculation on how this may fall, and any feelings you may have in another show. I want to spend the time on recruiting. If we look at McIntyre first, and we look at the breakthrough class that he signed, that we celebrated in February at the big luncheon, is the quality that he's pursuing and receiving right now, is that comparable to how he started last year, or maybe even ahead?
With the out-of-state kids, I'd say it's pretty comparable. Like I mentioned earlier with the in-state kids, you're actually seeing more interest than you did a year ago. Honestly, the fact that they had as much success recruiting early last recruiting cycle was pretty amazing, and partly that was Darren Chiavarini coming in with so much energy, and then finally the facilities were built. It was not showing the kids blueprints anymore. I mean, 18-year-old kids have a hard time envisioning what a blueprint is going to what it's going to look like when it comes to life. So finally last year they had that, and they actually recruited probably better than they should have, honestly. And then certainly they backed it up with the success, and were able to even build on that. This year with the out-of-state kids, I'd say it's pretty comparable again. The number one ranked center in the country, Justin Dietich, has already taken a visit to CU. He's going to take another trip. He's highly interested. There's a couple guys at DeSoto High School, the same high school where they signed two blue chippers last cycle. Jamon Green, one of the top cornerback prospects in the state of Texas, and his brother, German Green, who's pretty darn good too, but just had an ACL last year, are both really high on Colorado. And you can kind of go down the list. They're in the mix for some blue chip guys this year. I think if Mike McIntyre does get his contract extension approved, it will help, I think, with maybe some of those blue chip guys. So it's pretty comparable to where they were last year. And instead of kind of selling that we're going to have success, they can now point to that 10 wins in their Pac-12 South Championship. So it certainly helps.
You can see it just like you can see the new buildings on campus and new athletic facilities. On the basketball side, signed some 4 stars in the class that'll be coming in the fall. What does it look like quality-wise there?
Yeah, and with some attrition expected, and there might be some news on that this coming week once the players get back from spring break. They're actually going after a couple of junior college guards. It looks like they're not done recruiting for 2017 yet, but the guys they already have signed from the early signing period are all 4-star guys. Deshaun Schwartz had an amazing season down there in Colorado Springs, over 26 points a game. You want to temper your expectation for freshmen, but he's a guy I think can come in and score from day one. Tyler Bay, coming in after a prep season at Middlebrooks Academy, is a guy that I think is going to be able to help you rebounding and defense from day one. And then Evan Batty is, of course, one of the more intriguing guys. He's built like an offensive tackle, 6'7", 280. Really unique skill set. He can put the ball on the floor and dribble and create his own shot. Really good footwork. He's not going to block a lot of shots defensively at that size, but I think he's a guy that can move his feet to at least stay in front of people. So, yes, I think this is Tad Boyle's best group, and they still are looking to probably add on to it now that there's going to be a couple spots opening up here pretty soon.
I think it's smart that they go after a junior college point guard. They lose Derek White, who came in last year as a one-year point guard basically here and was the star of the team. They need that kind of quick fix again, because I anticipate, and I hate to say this, and we got 10 seconds left, but I don't imagine Bryce Peters is going to be back.
Yep, he had quite a few off the court issues this year, so it's going to be tough. I would expect him possibly to be one of those guys moving on.
All right, we will recap wins and losses and attrition next week. Thank you, Adam.
Good. Yep, thank you.
All right, Rockin Company's Rockin CU, brought to you by Zadie's Deli. Great day today. Stop in at Zadie's Deli. Safe Bet is next.